Today we're going to be talking to a South Minneapolis native, born and raised, who has conquered the beauty queen world. She is Miss Black USA 2021. I'm so excited to share space today with Jamila Toussaint to learn a little bit more about her journey, her crown, her mission, her goals, and what it means to be able to occupy a space like Miss Black USA 2021. Hi, Jamila. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to share space with you today. Congratulations, of course, on this title.
You.
Yes, tell me a little bit about where it all began. You grew up in South Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, so I grew up in South Minneapolis, but I had the pleasure of traveling quite a bit. My father worked for Northwest, which then became Delta, and our family just went all across the country. And that experience really helped me to understand the different dynamics in different areas of the country. And, you know, it just made me want to do more than just stay in Minnesota. It made me want to go to different cities and travel and see the world. And I think that kind of is where it all started, where I decided that I wanted to do a lot more.
Have you had any favorite places you've had a chance to visit?
Oh my gosh. Probably my favorite would be Ghana.
Okay.
I actually went to Ghana in 2019, right before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It was the year of the return, and that trip completely changed my outlook on life, really, to be in a society that was all Black, to be in a society where I was no longer the minority. It was very empowering. And then a second aspect of that was to be in the marketplace, to be at the Accra Art Center. I saw how everyone had their own thing. Everyone was invested in their craft. So much of an entrepreneurial spirit. Nobody was shy about selling their product. And so that's what kind of encouraged me to start my own business. And that's how I started Goddess Waist Beads after that trip. So that was probably my favorite trip so far.
And you felt empowered and encouraged to embrace your own creativity coming out of that journey. Before you became Miss Black USA, you were Miss Black Minnesota 2020, yes. Right? Mm-hmm. And what did it mean to be able to represent Minnesota and be recognized in that pageant space?
This was my first pageant ever.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And you know, Minneapolis is an interesting place. It's very diverse. A lot of different cultures, like right in the city in South Minneapolis. But then at the same time, you realize that you're the minority very quickly. And so for me, growing up, I appreciated that I had friends from Ecuador and friends who were a part of Native American tribes and friends from Africa and all of these things. But at the same time, I realized that minorities were really struggling in Minnesota. After spending time in places like DC and Atlanta where people were really thriving, I was like, okay, I think that there's a lot of work that can be done here in Minneapolis. And then, so that's why it really pushed me into doing a lot of programming to help people in my community.
And people need to know, in addition to representing first Minnesota, now Miss Black USA, you also went to law school. You're a yoga instructor. You have many interests and passions. And I think that's amazing because nobody is really just one thing. Like there are many facets to who Jamila is. And, you know, you're embracing so many different things. How important do you feel it is for others to, if you like something, don't just say, I can only do this one thing, embrace all of your passions and see where that journey leads.
Oh my gosh, that was so important for me. So I started modeling actually when I was probably about 10 or 12 years old, and I went to Barbizon modeling school, but at the same time I was playing basketball. And so I was juggling both. I would go to a fashion show, and then I would hurry up and go to my basketball game. And sometimes I would show up to the basketball game in a full face of makeup, and people would be like, what are you doing? Like, nobody's going to take you seriously on the court when you're showing up looking all pretty and, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people were, my coach, even my parents were like, I think you kind of need to just choose one and go with that. And so I decided to stick with basketball because, it was really just a joy and a passion of mine to play basketball. And I was just getting started in modeling, wasn't too sure of myself. And so just left that behind, like in the back of my head somewhere, always watched America's Next Top Model and always just loved magazines and beauty and all that kind of stuff. But probably not for me. And then in law school, I was definitely like, okay, aged out of modeling for sure. But there was just this burning desire to do something creative when I was in law school. And it was so important. It was so important for my mental health that I had a creative outlet. And so I started modeling. I lived in Athens, Georgia, where the University of Georgia Law School is located. And I would drive an hour and a half to do photo shoots with photographers, like new photographers who are willing to do photo shoots for free. And it was really a grind, but there was so much joy. I remember going back and rewatching America's Next Top Model and, just having emotional moments. And I remember reading a book that said, anything that causes like emotion, like within your soul, that's something that you're very passionate about. And so that's when I was like, okay, I can do both. I can juggle these identities, and people might not get it, but they don't have to get it.
Yeah.
It's to me.
Yeah. And what do you feel that having the courage to embrace those things that you were most passionate about, or at least the courage to explore your interests, has taught you about yourself?
Really that, and I don't know the best way to say this, but you are your own master. You are the creator of your reality. You are the God of your reality, if you will. And anything that you want to achieve in this world, you can absolutely do that. You are creating each moment based on what you believe and what you desire. There's nothing wrong with having desires. I believe that God put those desires in your heart for a reason. And that's why we're here. We're all here to live out those desires. So for me, it was a turning point where it wasn't so much like a choice. It was like, I have to do this. Otherwise I would just feel really, stuck. And so I don't know if everyone gets to that point in their lives, but definitely for me, it became not so much a choice, but something that I had to do.
Can you talk a little bit about how being able to see that the world was bigger than the neighborhood or the immediate community you grew up in helped shape your self-confidence, your self-image, and your view of yourself? Being
able to go to different places where Black beauty is really celebrated. That was very impactful for me. So, growing up, I can't remember which conversation this was, but someone was saying they didn't have a date to the prom. And I remember, was that you saying that?
We were talking about that, like how where there was a big dance or a prom or something coming up. I remember when I was growing up, you weren't always sure if you were going to get an invitation, or you expected to be one of the last people to be asked, if you were asked at all. Because I too grew up in a community where, at least in my school, you could probably count the number of African Americans on one hand, at least in the high school. Just those landmark moments they were coming up, and it's just, am I gonna have a date? Now I ultimately did have one, but it was, you know, when they're coming up, it's not like, I'm gonna ask so and so. It's like it's like, I'm not even really sure that I'm expecting to be asked, or that I'm going to be asked. It's a delicate balance between your image of yourself and then also trying to protect how you see yourself and want to see yourself, and feeling like the person that you are may not be fully received on the other side. So it's kind of an interesting space, trying not to allow those things to affect how you view yourself and your worth.
I mean, I ended up going to prom with my neighbor down the street because I literally did not have anyone to and then my group of friends, you know, my young, beautiful Black women, none of them had dates to the prom, you know? So, and I just remember, you know, being in high school and being like, is there something wrong with me? And then thinking like, no, you know, I think I'm cute and I have a nice personality and all these kind of things. Like, something's wrong with them. The reason I was able to do that was because of the way I was brought up. And my parents always, you know, affirming me. And again, being able to travel and having people outside my community affirm me in that way, where I could take that space and be like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with me, but there's something going on within this community that is causing a certain preference to come forward. And so that was my high school experience, but I'm grateful for it because I can now kind of speak on those things, and I have a deeper understanding of those things. So,
and probably a comfort level because you traveled, because of the experiences that you had growing up, being in different kinds of spaces where you can show up fully in spaces where maybe everyone may not be comfortable. I found that for myself, and when I thought about it, I just said, oh wow, like I really feel like the same person that you're talking to now. If you saw me in the grocery store, if you see me at work, you're going to see the same hello. Sometimes the experiences where you're going through them growing up, maybe they feel uncomfortable or less comfortable at the time. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and all those moments sort of teach you something different about yourself, and all the experiences that we have are sort of preparation for, you know, whatever is coming down the line. When you occupy the space of Miss Black USA, do you have those little girls coming up to you just, you know, so excited with the light in their eyes, just, you know, saying a princess? And how does that feel to be that for someone else?
Oh my gosh. For me, it's paying it forward, because I had women in my life who owned who they were, and I looked up to them, and because they owned who they were, I was able to begin to accept myself. And so when I see those little girls and they see me and I have my hair, you know, usually I'll have my hair in a big fro or a puff or whatever, they're looking like, oh my God, I got a puff, she got a puff, you know? So it's important for young girls to see that image, because as we encourage women to own their natural beauty, they have to see us owning our natural beauty. We can't tell the younger generation to accept themselves as they are, and, you know, don't get into the whole social media thing and surgery thing and all of that if we ourselves are not providing a positive image for young girls. And so that's been so important for me, because I was lucky enough to have that in my life. So,
and I love that saying, and I know I'm not going to say it exactly the way it is, but if you see something that sort of shapes your aspirations and your ideas of who and what you can be, maybe I can grow up and maybe there's a space that I can occupy, or maybe there's a level that I can aspire to, or maybe I can create my own lane. Your path and your journey is the catalyst for that dream for them. It's just like, I think I could do that. What have you enjoyed the most about your time so far as Miss Black USA?
Oh gosh. Having conversations like this, honestly, because I love to talk. I love to share my story. I love to give advice, but I don't like to give unsolicited advice. And so I love having conversations like this because I can talk about my story and I can kind of give a little bit of advice in a way that doesn't come off as like I know it all or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kind of like as we grow on this journey, there's so much information that you're taking in and so many aha moments, and you just want to spit it all out to people. And, sometimes people are not quite ready for all of that. So creating spaces like this where people can make the choice to tap in and get that advice or get what they need from a conversation is like awesome. And I love that we're able to do so much nowadays with technology and just spreading the message of Black beauty and intelligence and strength. And I think that's just been such an important aspect of social media and technology is to show people like this is what Blackness can look like. It doesn't have to look like the stereotype that mainstream society wants you to think.
And one thing I think I've sort of been cognizant of just throughout life is I encounter a lot of people whose interaction, more so like growing up some, I would say, whose interaction with people of color may be largely shaped by what they see on television. Mm-hmm. And so, to exist in that space, I've walked into a lot of spaces where people maybe have expectations of me that are shaped before I even walk into the room. Yeah. And so, to be counter to what someone's perception might be, or the idea that they, maybe carry certain ideas for what an entire group of people may be like. And then they meet me and I'm like, hi, how are you? What are you doing? Like, so nice to meet you. And just in existing, you counter a narrative.
It's like a double consciousness,
that
we have to live within, where it's just like, okay, I'm like you said, like, this is how I view myself in the world. But then I also have the consciousness of how other people are going to perceive me in the world. And that's why I love meditation. Yeah. You can kind of give yourself some space from those thoughts and kind of just allow them to float on by. And
I think after a while, there's some aspects of it that, you don't even really think about after a while because they become so much a part of how you move through the world.
Yeah.
But they're there. And I think conversations like this, create space to really pay attention to the way in which you move in the world in a way that you don't always have a chance to. What's next for you?
So my initiative through Miss Black USA is Be Well, providing trap yoga and chill skills to young girls. And so my goal is to, along with my sister and a good friend of mine who's also a yoga instructor, my sister is a mental health practitioner, and through trap yoga, we make yoga accessible to young girls by giving it a fun flair and doing yoga to hip hop music. And then my sister, as a mental health practitioner, provides cognitive behavioral therapy to help these young women as they move through their journey of womanhood and just to create a sisterly bond within the community. So that's what's next, starting in Minneapolis, and hopefully it can spread across the country, across the world. That's what's next for me. I'm excited about that.
That sounds exciting, and it sounds like you are well on your way.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, I am so appreciative of you spending a little time with me today to share a little bit about your story, your journey from Miss Black Minnesota to Miss Black USA, and of course, all of your interests, your passions, and your aspirations as you look to the future. Is there anything that you would like to leave everyone with, especially that little girl that may be watching and looking to you as an example of who she could be?
follow your passion. Follow your passion. It doesn't matter what anyone else really has to say about what you do in this life, because it's you that has to live this life. So whatever you set your mind to, stay focused on it, study it, put in your 10,000 hours, and you can accomplish anything. Anything.
Thank you so much. Such an important message. And I appreciate you joining me for this conversation. Let's chat, Ms. Black USA 2021, Jamila Toussaint. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Oh, so glad to have you.